Okay, welcome to the apprenticeship overview. So during this presentation, we will talk about how you can earn your staff credential, which will be a national as well as a local certification recognized by DCF. And we're so excited to have you join us as an early childhood educator apprentice. So we have English sessions on Tuesdays that run from 6:45 to 8:45, and Spanish sessions that run on Thursdays from 6:30 until 8:30. If you haven't already, you will receive a separate email with your Google Classroom invitation and a link for our virtual meetings. And Google Classroom is the place where you will review all of your program materials and stay on track throughout your apprenticeship. And the Google meeting is where we'll actually meet so that we can come together as a group and a class and to talk about and discuss all of the materials. So these are some helpful email addresses. Normally for English, your first point of contact will be flowers@bffkids.com. And for Spanish, your first point of contact will be abby@bffkids.com. And for whichever language, doesn't matter, you can reach us via phone or text at 727-877-0216. And I say your point of contact because one of the nice things about the apprenticeship is that you will be assigned a personal coach who will work with you to make sure that you are successful throughout your apprenticeship. So one of the things that you will need is a book or a book package. In this case, it will probably be the CDA book. And you have a couple of options. If you prefer to work mostly with children under 2, you would buy the yellow book, which is an infant toddler book. If you prefer to work with older children or VPK children, you would buy the green book, which is a preschool book. And we do use the CDA book for a good chunk of our coursework. And you actually cover all of the CDA coursework in your apprenticeship. Some people do choose to go on and get the CDA as an additional certification, but it is absolutely not necessary. Once you finish the apprenticeship, you will earn a CCAC staff credential, which carries the same weight as a CDA, but it actually lasts longer. It is valid for 5 years instead of 3. And unlike the CDA, it does not expire. So these are some links that will be available to you in Google Classroom. This entire presentation will, where you can purchase the book directly from the CDA Council, or you can purchase it through our PayPal. And the nice thing about it is that if you are going to receive the TEACH scholarship, which most of you will, if you have a high school diploma, you almost always qualify for the TEACH scholarship, that they will reimburse you for the cost of your book. So any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So once you get your TEACH scholarship, these are some terms of the contract that will be emailed to you from TEACH. So on your end, they want you to enroll and attend your classes. They want you to let them know immediately if you change schools or if you drop out of your course, which we won't let you do that because you have a personal coach assigned to you to make sure you're successful. They want to make sure that you submit all of your proper paperwork. So any reimbursements that you're going to get, that you don't wait until like 2 years later and try to say, can I get reimbursed for the book? So no, according to your contract, you're going to have a certain time frame that you can ask for reimbursement in. And if you do want to get that reimbursement, you need to get it into them within that time frame. And we should say just do it immediately while it's fresh on your mind. They also want you to keep working at the school that you're working at for at least 20 hours a week for a minimum of 1 year. So part of the reason why TEACH does what they do is that they are committed to making sure that they bring professionalism to the field of early childhood education. So one way they do that is by helping you get your credential so that you can be a highly qualified teacher. And another way is that they try to reduce staff turnover in schools. So they want you to stay at the school that you're with right now so that you can grow and become a better team leader at that school instead of bouncing around from school to school. So if there is some type of extenuating circumstance, like you have to move out of the state or something comes up as an emergency, you do want to reach out to your TEACH counselor as soon as possible so that you can discuss options with them.
Okay.
They do want you to contribute 10% of your tuition. So the way this happens is that they actually are just going to reduce your bonus. So there's a $250 bonus that they give you right away, but they take your portion of the tuition out of that. So you would receive as your first payment a $60 Visa card from TEACH that you can use anywhere Visa is accepted, or you can actually link it to your bank account or to your
Okay.
Apple or Google Pay.
Okay.
And you would get your big bonus at the end when you finish your classes. They also want you to contribute 10% of the cost of your computer. So every 3 years, if you're on a TEACH scholarship, you are able to get up to $500 for a laptop. And So if you bought a laptop for $500, let's say, and they're going to reimburse you everything except for 10%, you would only be paying $50 out of pocket for a brand new laptop. And with Black Friday coming up, that's a great time to go ahead and shop for a great deal on a laptop.
That was just crazy because me and my mom were just looking at laptops.
Oh, there you go. Yep. Which I think like that's a step that a lot of people just don't bother with the laptop. And I'm like, it helps with your classes, especially when you're meeting every Tuesday. It's hard to do that sometimes on a tablet or a phone. It's nice to just have a dedicated laptop for classes. So yeah,
it makes things just that much easier.
It does. All right. And then they also, if you do decide, I mentioned that you can go on and get the CDA on top of it, and they would contribute 10% of the cost of the CDA assessment, which the price does change for the CDA assessment. It just went up to $525. So you would just be responsible for like $52 of that, and they would pay everything else for your CDA assessment if you wanted to go on and do that. Like I said, most people don't bother because this certification lasts for 5 years instead of 3. So it's just like you already have a staff credential. So, but that would be up to you. All right. So then what they agreed to do to help you in your educational journey is that they're going to communicate with us, your educational facility, and they're also going to communicate with your employer.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to communicate with you, and they're also going to make sure that they follow all of their rules, just like they want you to follow all of their rules.
Right.
They're going to pay 80% of your tuition. So remember, we said that you are responsible for 10%, but it just comes out of your bonus, so you never actually make a payment. So the other 10%, they're going to ask your job to kick in, but we'll be working with your job, and you can also remind them, because sometimes it does get hard for us to contact them, that there is a way for them to also not have to pay out of pocket, because Teach allows them to give the employer credit for letting you attend classes. So they're able to actually offset their payroll just because you're in classes. And that would cover more than the 10% that they're asking them to pay for your tuition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're also going to give you a book stipend. So this recently changed. Depending on when you get approved, it could be that you have to pay, I think it was 10% of your book stipend, but most of the people who are being approved now, they're just going to give you a flat rate of $75, so you don't have to pay anything for your books.
Okay.
We already talked about the computer. So that $250 student access stipend, that's what we just talked about, is that you actually end up getting out of pocket $60 because they don't really charge you for the tuition. They just take it out of that.
Okay.
And that letter I, where they contribute the current minimum wage plus $2 per hour of release time, that's the release time I just talked about that they give your employer for allowing you to participate in the apprenticeship. Okay. And then letter J is the one that most people get really excited about. Once you are done, you get a $1,500 bonus to you on your Visa card that they had already given you the $60 on. So you do need to just make sure you keep up with that email or that card so that you can get your big bonus at the end. And it's just a win-win for everybody. Any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. And then with you having previous experience, the apprenticeship can be either a 6-month, a 9-month, or a 12-month program. So I will talk with you specifically about how much experience you have, but you're probably going to fall in the 6-month range, which means that you would need to attend classes for 6 months before you would be finished with your program.
Right.
Okay. All right. So when we do meet, so this is just the orientation, not actually a class per se, but when we have our classes, we do have some class norms. We just ask, because we're in a bigger group, that you mute when you're not speaking so that we don't have a lot of mute to the class conversations, and participate at least that way, or in the chat, or even by just using emojis so that we know that you're there and that you're engaging in the class. One of the requirements that we have in order to be able to be licensed to teach this class is that you do have to have your camera on for the majority of class. So at least about half of the class, we do need your camera on so that we can verify with the people who license us to teach the classes that you're you and you're actually there and attending the class. All right. So some of the things that I'll talk about and go over are things that are just kind of Department of Labor and government lingo. So I won't spend too much time on it unless you have a particular question. But as I mentioned before, you do get a lifetime certification with this. There is no final exam. So the apprenticeship is more supportive in its nature. You have a coach. We're here to help you. If we find that you have an area that you're struggling with, we just coach you on that, and we make sure that we have more training on it instead of waiting to the end and giving you a test and saying, oh, you passed, you failed. Too bad you failed. You can't go on. It's like, we're going to support you and make sure that you're meeting all of the standards that you need to meet. So in addition to the training, we're going to enhance your communication skills, learn effective workplace strategies, and explore career advancement opportunities. So we're going to be a liaison. So if you have any issues with your employer that you feel like you can't resolve on your own, you can certainly reach out to us, and then we'll step in and help facilitate. And at times we might say it's better if you try to address this on your own. That would be one of the skills that we would expect you to have. So this is a strategy that we give you, or we might say, this is something that you shouldn't have to deal with, or that it might be difficult for you to deal with. So we certainly will step in. But again, the idea is that we want to be supportive, and we want to constantly coach and assist in that way. So we already talked about the options, and you probably will be in the advanced apprenticeship, which will meet weekly for 6 months. All right. So attendance is crucial for your success, but we understand that we're adult learners and sometimes things come up. So you are required to attend a minimum of 2 live sessions every month. And if you do miss sessions, there will be ways for you to make up the work, and then you would still get your credit as long as you're not going over that 2 classes missed per month. And again, if there's something that comes up and there's an individual circumstance we need to look at, that's why we're here, so that we can troubleshoot and problem solve before it gets to be out of hand. And so one of the things that we offer, a lot of people come to us and they're already working, but in your case, we will help you find employment. We will coach and communicate with your employers. We will guide you on professional growth and career advancement. And we will be partnering with your employer for on-site coaching, regular feedback, and compensation for your achievements and conflict resolution.
Okay.
So, so here, this is one of the things that I'm just going to quickly move to this tab. This is an agreement that you're going to be doing with the Department of Education and the Department of Labor that is basically allowing you to have that lifetime certification because the government is involved. It's no cost to you. It's just showing the government that you're signed up with them. And that way, even if something happens with our program, you would still be able to reach out to anyone in the future. Like nothing's going to happen to us, but it's just another layer of protection for you because the Department of Labor is involved. So your agreement, they have changed it to where instead of that paper copy I just quickly showed, they're going to have you DocuSign. So it's all the same information, and they just have you sign off on it digitally via email once you're in the system.
Okay.
And then there's also a copy that your employer gets. And same thing, it just allows that school to be registered so that everybody is 100% covered in the program. And sometimes things happen, but again, that's just one of those things that I need to tell you about, and you don't necessarily need to look at it. So the employer agreement is for your employer's records, and I will fix that link if it needs to be fixed. I'm not sure what's going on right there.
Okay.
All right, and then this is information that we'll need once you're placed at your school, but since we're helping you get placement at your school, we'll have it. I'll also be sending you out a Google form after we meet today. And you'll just kind of digitally upload all of this information, all the information that you can, and that will allow me to assist you in getting your placement to start working.
Okay.
All right. So again, this is not something that we need to discuss, but I'll just leave it up for a quick minute and allow you to see all of the skills that you're supposed to learn throughout your program with us. So I'll just pause really quickly.
Okay.
All right. And then same thing, just some more of the skills that you'll be covering. And I'll just do a quick pause right there. And another page. So after all of that, you would get 2,000 hours of credit for this program.
Okay.
All right. And then in addition to the on-the-job skills that you would be earning, you'll also get 144 hours of training with us through your Tuesday classes. And these are the skills that we're going to cover. And like I said, most of them overlap with the CDA skills. And in addition, you'll have some hands-on laboratory experiences and observations with your mentor.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so as far as minimum wage, the minimum wage changes as of right now, I believe it's $14. So you are guaranteed in the state of Florida to earn at least the minimum wage. And by the time you finish your apprenticeship, we ask your employer that you are at the journey workers wage, which is $15 an hour. So at any point, if you're not getting a raise, especially after about halfway through your program and you feel like you should have, you can reach out to us and we can advocate for you. But definitely by the end of the program, when you have your credential, you should be expecting a raise.
Okay.
All right. And then again, this is just some legal technical stuff that we have to give you that we've already talked about some of this, all of the hours and how you'll be given credit. And then these are some disclosures that we have to share as well. And again, you would have access to this if you wanted to come back and read all of these disclosures on your own.
Okay.
And we do recommend that laptop again. That's why it's highlighted. And if you're going to continue with the CDA option, at that point, we would recommend that you also purchase an actual binder and dividers. If you're content with the apprenticeship, you don't necessarily need to purchase that binder because your portfolio will be available to you online.
Okay.
All right. Again, just a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo, all of the qualifications, probationary period, things like that. Minimum qualifications, which if you're here, you already meet them. That's why I was asking you a billion questions to make sure you met all the qualifications. All right, so now we're going to look at Google Classroom. I spoke before about how we'll be using Google Classroom to do all of your classwork. Do you have any experience with Google Classroom?
No.
Okay, so it's just taking a second to load. But this is what Google Classroom looks like. For me, it looks like a lot because I have a lot of different classes in there. But for you, you would just have probably the one class with us. And once you go in, it automatically opens to your stream. And those are like quick messages that we post that we want everyone to be able to see. But we mostly will be in the classwork tab. And in the classwork tab, it's divided into different sections. So the main sections that you would be concerned about would be the CDA portfolio when we do the CDA portion of the apprenticeship. And I think this might open in a different tab. So I'm just giving, yeah, it is. I'm just giving this a second to load. So the nice thing about this is that you would have your own CDA portfolio. And once it's in Google Classroom, it gets assigned to you and only you. So, but we as your coaches can also go in and type in there and give you comments or just kind of look at it if you ever wanted us to. But in your CDA portfolio, you have a lot of different things that are required for the CDA coursework that you just type right into your portfolio. It saves automatically. You don't ever have to worry about losing it because it does save. Like I said, we can come in and we can type in there or we can look at your work and give you feedback on it. And at the end, it kind of just lives forever online. And if one day you print it out and put it in a binder, you could. If you do your CDA observation and test, you would, as part of the CDA requirements, need to print that out and put it in a binder. But it includes a lot of different things.
Because when I have a laptop, I usually have a notebook beside me because I benefit from writing things down as well.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say, if you prefer to handwrite, you could also do that as well. And you can do
Yeah,
a
I've learned
mixture.
better when I handwrite a lot of things sometimes.
Yes, and you can do a mixture as well. So that's kind of what your portfolio would look like. I'm going to go back to the classroom. You also have apprenticeship assignments. So once we're done with your CDA coursework, you kind of just come in here and we work on different skills. And you can see some of the topics that we've worked on: meal planning, team building, dealing with challenging behaviors, all kinds of different things.
So
And then
that's where
another,
all my classwork will be, is under classwork.
yep, exactly. You got it. And then you have some lab experiences that we'll talk about later in more detail in class, but these are going to be like labs, kind of like a lab, like you go into your classroom while you're working and you just do these things while you're at work. So it's not like anything that you're required to spend extra hours on. You kind of get to double dip and do these things while you're already working.
Right.
And then what other section? We have a few other sections in there, but I do want to show you the book. So we do have a copy of the CDA book that is for like reference only. So when we're doing readings in class, we would just ask you to go to the book and go to a certain section, and then you would be able to pull up a PDF of the book and read it. However, because Teach does give you money for the book, and like you said, I imagine since you want the notebook next to you, you probably would benefit more from having an actual copy of the book. So even though it is here, we do recommend that you go ahead and use that Teach stipend and get the book so that you can have a hard copy for yourself.
Okay.
And we also have slides of the classes. So I talked before about how you can miss classes, but you just need to make up the work. So let's say we were working on CDA area 2. You could just go into the slides for that class and there would be step-by-step outlines of what we did in class and any assignments that you would need to complete.
Correct.
And that is kind of an overview of Google Classroom. It does, like you said, the classwork is where you're going to go for all your classwork. A lot of people get caught off guard immediately because it opens to the stream, but you just have to remember to go to the classwork tab, and that's where you would work. We do spend a good chunk of time in class making sure that you know where to go and how to get to all this stuff. And if you ever have any questions, the idea is that we want to be your coaches. We want to be your mentors. So you can just let us know when you're struggling, if you're struggling.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the slides again. So we talked about some of this because you brought up that you like to handwrite. So you could also just print out the portfolio and handwrite in it instead of having a notebook next to you, or you can take your notes in your notebook. Like, we like to be flexible. Sometimes it's hard because you have so many options, but we like to
Right.
be flexible and let you know that as long as you're doing the work, whatever method you choose that works for you works for us as well. Some people also like to have two devices. So they'll log on, for example, with their phone to be able to look at the class, and then they'll use a laptop to type on their portfolio while they're in class or something like that. So if
Right.
you find that that works for you as well, we don't care if you log on from more than one device. Just
Okay.
mute one of them, or else the feedback does get pretty bad on them.
Okay.
And then you've been asking questions along the way, which I love, but do you have any additional questions?
I do not. I
Okay.
think you've explained everything to the T.
Okay. So I'm going to stop recording, and then we'll follow up with some things that are more specific to you.